Hi friends, I am Imran Ali. Today my topic of discussion is judicial review in US Constitution. But before moving towards the topic, let me remind you, please don't forget to like and subscribe my YouTube channel. Judicial review is the process whereby an apex court interprets a law and determines its constitutional status. If the judiciary finds that a given piece of legislation is in conflict with any provisions of the Constitution, it may strike down the same. If we talk about judicial review with respect to American Constitution, then we can say that judicial review is the power of the US Supreme Court to decide whether a law or decision by the legislative or executive branches of the federal government or any court or any agency of the state government is constitutional. This is a part of the checks and balances that the three branches of the federal government use in order to limit each other and ensure a balance of power. In the words of Max Lerner, judicial review is presumably Americans' most beautiful and original gift to the art of the government. The Constitution has not expressly given this power to it, but the Supreme Court has acquired it through its own interpretations of the Constitution. Meaning of judicial review. According to Black's Law Dictionary, judicial review is a court's power to review of the actions of other branches or levels of the government, especially the court's power to invalidate legislative and executive actions as being unconstitutional. In fact, judicial review is a key to the doctrine of balance of power based on the system of checks and balances between the three branches of the federal government. Origin of judicial review in US Constitution. Judicial review is the fundamental principle of the US system of federal government, and it means all the actions of the executive and legislative branches of the government are subject to review and possible invalidation by the judiciary branch. The concept of judicial review was developed by Chief Marshal of the American Supreme Court in the famous Marbury versus Madison case of 1803. The case arose out of the political wrangling that occurred in the weeks before President John Adams left office for Thomas Jefferson. The new president and the Congress overturned the many judiciary appointments John Adams had made at the end of his term and overturned the congressional act that had increased the number of the presidential judicial appointments. For the first time in the history of the new republic, the Supreme Court ruled out that an act of Congress was unconstitutional. This ruling established the precedent of judicial branch of the government to declare a law unconstitutional. This decision was a key in helping to place the judicial branch on or more even footing with the legislative and the executive branches. Objectives of judicial review. Judicial review, as formulated by Chief Justice Marshall of the American Supreme Court, had a number of objectives, like to uphold the principle of the supremacy of the Constitution, to maintain federal equilibrium like a kind of balance between the center and the states, to protect the fundamental rights of the citizens, to keep the Congress and the President within the limits of their powers, and to enlarge and strengthen the authority of the federal government. Examples of judicial review in practice. Over the decades, the Supreme Court has exercised its power of judicial review in overturning hundreds of lower court cases. The following are just a few examples of such landmark cases. Number 1, Marbury versus Madison, 1803. Number 2, Roev.Wade, 1973. Number 3, Lovingv.Virginia, 1967. Number 4, Obergefell.Hodges, 2015, and many others. Roe v. Wade, 1973. The Supreme Court ruled that state laws prohibiting abortion were unconstitutional. The court held that a woman's right to an abortion fell within the right to privacy as protected by the 14th Amendment Prior to Roe vs. Wade, abortion had been illegal throughout much of the country since the late 19th century. Lovingv vs. Virginia, 1967. Lovingv vs. Virginia was a Supreme Court case that struck down state laws banning interracial marriage in the United States. In its unanimous decision, the court held that distinctions drawn in such laws were generally odious to a free people. The court found that the Virginia law in question had no purpose other than invidious racial discrimination. Importance of judicial review. The importance of judicial review lies in the fact that due to this power, the Supreme Court has become the guardian of the Constitution and has played a vital role in its development. It protects the Constitution and its supremacy against the laws of the center or the states which conflict with or contravene its provisions. Judicial review plays an essential role in ensuring that each branch of the government recognizes the limits of its own power. Moreover, it protects civil rights and liberties by striking down laws that violate the Constitution. Finally, it sets appropriate limits on democratic government by ensuring that popular majorities cannot pass laws that harm and or take undue advantage of unpopular minorities. Conclusion. Judicial review is one of the distinctive features of the United States constitutional law. Judicial review is the power of the US Supreme Court to decide whether a law or decision by the legislative or executive branches of federal government or any court or agency of the state government is constitutional. Judicial review is the key to the doctrine of balance of power based on the system of checks and balances between the three branches of the federal government, and all the actions of the executive and legislative branches of the government are subject to review and possible invalidation by the judiciary branch. So that's all for today. Till next video, take care. Allah Hafiz.